Well, hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning in to News 9 Live. Quite a current topic for discussion today because, usually when someone buys a home, a flat in a residential complex across growing suburbs or urban megacities, there are dreams attached to it. There are aspirations, ambitions, and hope to germinate and nurture life. So much is sacrificed just to make sure that the four walls of a flat or a construction can become a home. But from vastu, pool-facing and sunlight-filled halls, have we misplaced our priorities? The recent devastation in Turkey has left a lingering taste of fear across the world. In the national capital of India, Delhi, that sits in a grade 4 seismic zone, danger is far from over. Shoddily constructed buildings are endangering thousands of lives across the national capital region. In the last 3 years alone, Delhi has been rocked by tremors more than 25 times. So, find out, can your home or building endure an earthquake? News 9 Plus's documentary on the very same issue is now out. You can download the application for your mobile phones or your televisions from the Play Store or the Apple App Store, or just by scanning the QR code on your screens in just a bit. We'll speak to the scientists and the journalist behind the story in just a bit. First up, here's a snippet. Take a look.
It took just 80 seconds. An earthquake demolished buildings, killing 51,000 persons in Turkey and Syria.
Clearly, a lot of these buildings were not up to standard.
More than 100 arrest warrants have been issued in connection with unsafe buildings.
How well buildings protected residents played a significant role in lives saved and lost.
Earthquakes do not kill the people. Buildings do.
Developing story coming out of Afghanistan now. Magnitude 6.5 earthquake has hit the nation. Strong tremors were felt as far away as Pakistan and parts of India, including the capital, New Delhi.
Shoddily constructed buildings are endangering lives of thousands of people across Delhi-NCR. In the last 3 years, the national capital region felt tremors 26 times. Is your home really safe from a quake?
झटके आए थे अभी पंखे हिले थे बहुत तेज
हम अपनी गाड़ी चला रहे थे तो गाड़ी थोड़ी सी कांप गई थी
तो काफी देर तक मतलब झटके फील हुए रुक के.
There are two plates. That is, one is Indian plates and another is a Eurasian plate. Indian plate is subducting into the Eurasian plate at a constant rate, and as a result, there is a constant rise in Himalayas at a rate of around 47 mm per year. As a result, there is a huge accumulation of energy in the and which is coming out in the form of an earthquake. Entire Indian Himalayan ridge is in seismic zone 4 and 5, including Delhi.
Most of the buildings in Turkey were non-engineered. Seismic code compliances were not followed. Earthquake resistant features which are mandatory were clearly missing. Hence, more than the quake, it is shadowy constructed buildings which claimed so many lives. Turkey is in seismic zone 4. And looking at the deadly outcome of such a high magnitude, we really need to implement our seismic codes.
So can buildings across Delhi-NCR endure earthquakes?
This is Chintal Palace Residency in Gurugram. In 2022, part of the building collapsed from the 6th floor to the ground floor, killing 2 residents. An IIT Delhi team conducted structural audits in Tower D, E and F of the society. The team found high amounts of chloride used in the concrete during the construction. This led to corrosion of steel and weakening of the structure.
Everybody is scared. Everybody is scared. Some department is declaring the building it's not safe to live, so it is obvious. Around 150 families vacated from here, and we are just waiting for the solution.
Fearing for their lives, more than 8,000 families across 70 apartment complexes raised an alarm. The district commissioner ordered a structural audit of 16 societies in the first phase. News9 Plus has accessed the structural audit reports, and the results are alarming.
Well, so download the application now and get a closer look on what those findings exactly are, and a plethora of other cutting-edge documentaries as well. Joining me in the studio to talk more about it is News9 Plus's Shanta Sri, the voice behind the story. Very warm welcome on the broadcast. And also joining us is Ajay Chaurasia, who's a scientist for CSIR and CBRI. Shanta Sri, let's get the ball rolling here. Death and destruction, earthquakes, all of this is, it's a gritty topic. It needs a lot of courage to go close to it. Now, I know in contemporary times we've seen already what's happened in Turkey, but what warrants this story? What made you go closer to it, and exactly what fascinating factors did you find out?
We have all witnessed the devastation that kind of earthquake has caused in Turkey and Syria, killing more than 51,000 lives. And clearly, if that happens, Delhi being in the same seismic zone as Turkey, then it's going to be far more devastating, because we have all the codes in place, but the buildings that are being made are not seismic resilient. And to explain it in simpler terms, we studied the entire, we approached the entire story through a case study, which is Shintel's Paradiso Residency. It's a modern day shoddy construction example where residents have actually faced the brunt of terrible, construction material being used, like excessive amounts of chloride in the construction material, and leading to in not only the collapse of the building but also killing 2 residents. So if you're spending your whole life savings in buying a flat and staying over there, and then you suddenly see that it is being declared as unfit for living. And there is not only this society, but there are hundreds of other societies in Gurugram and also across Delhi-NCR, which are, at the receiving end of such shoddy construction material being used while constructing. And they are not strong enough to withstand the tremors. Delhi had been facing tremors for the last so many years, as we mentioned, that around 26 times, and recently, just last week, we faced a huge tremor which lasted more than 30 seconds, and everybody came down and they were terrified for their lives. Of course, nothing happened as such, no devastation happened, nothing terrible happened, thank God. But at the end of the day, if something happens tomorrow, the buildings will not be able to withstand such a quake, and all will crumble down. And of course, to explain further, we have a guest who can explain it to you in a technical terms why it will not withstand.
Absolutely, but major red flags that you've raised as well, and I will take it across during the discussion about how we've misplaced our priorities as well. Ajay Chaurasia, scientist for CSIR and CBRI, also with us on the panel. For an expert opinion, it's really interesting. The opening words that you used is that earthquakes don't kill people, buildings do. Now, in terms of the standard of buildings, in terms of engineering standards and structural designs, where does Delhi particularly stand? Not just Delhi, the entire NCR area. Are we really far behind? Is it like a ticking time bomb situation?
First of all, good morning to everyone. As you are asking about the standards, India is a very great country wherein we have very robust seismic resistance standards when you compare with other countries in the globe. Standard very clearly specifies that your structure should be as light as possible so that it will have less forces acting during the earthquake. And in contrast, when you see in practice, people are using materials of having heavy mass. So that is not correct. Point number 2, majority of construction happening in our country are masonry buildings. And it is well known that masonry is a heterogeneous material and they do not withstand the earthquake in past world over. And for that purpose, in CBRI, we have evolved a new technology which is cost effective, seismic resistance, and which makes use of locally available construction material and skill, that is confined masonry. And if this particular technology is adopted in practice, I'm sure days are not that these buildings will not collapse. Each life will be saved and economic losses will also be reduced. And very great that Bureau of Indian Standard has brought out the seismic code also on confined masonry. Now it is time to take educational institutes, academic, to teach this particular subject properly to the students, and regulatory authorities, they should implement the provisions given in the code and they should ensure that these are implemented properly. So
Mr. Chaurasia, essentially, we need a change in the education system of these architectures, of our engineers as well. How far behind are we, and why aren't these changes being made?
Presently, this earthquake-resistant design is taught as a very specialized subject in MTech. Okay, so now this subject need to be taught in detail in all the engineering colleges at BTech level. So that is the first immediate step is needed. Point number 2, our professionals should be sensitized. Owners should be sensitized. Then builder, contractor, they should be sensitized in using all the provisions given in the code. Point number 3 is the regulatory authorities. So these regulatory authorities should have, first of all, the competence. Whatever the drawings given to them, they are seismic compliant, first of all. And secondly, they should ensure that whatever submission of drawing is there, not only the architectural but structure should be there, and it should be implemented rigorously and executed properly by employing or deploying a quality assurance and quality control agency. So that kind of a mechanism need to be developed. That is called as a techno-legal regime in the country. If such mechanisms are implemented across the country seriously, whatsoever it is a 1 or 2 story building or 10-story building, then only we can foresee the seismic resilient India in years to come.
Absolutely. You know, Shanta, at the same time, you know, across your reportage, you must have spoken to a lot of, you know, residents as well. Yeah. What were some of their, you know, the most grievous of concerns? What were they most worried about? I mean, there are so many people who've lost money, but at the same time, the fear is something, I mean, they have to go to bed with that fear as well. What are some interesting points that came across from the resident spectrum?
So when we spoke to the residents of the Chintals Paradiso residency, which recently, I mean a year back, had faced such a terrible experience of buying flats and then being declared as unfit for living by a IIT Delhi report, you know, they were, of course, they not only demanded for compensation, but also they want ghar ke badle ghar, because they are saying that, you know, we don't want to leave a place that we have bought with our own life savings and then go to a rented apartment, and then 11 months, after 11 months, that entire period of rent gets over, and then again we have to ask the builder to pay for another, extend another month, year of rent for us. So it's a very, you know, lot of hassles they have to face because of the fault of the builder, because they have done such construction where are technical issues, there are structural issues. And this is not only one society. This entire area of Gurugram, which consists of 76 societies, they had gone to the District Commissioner of Gurgaon and they have complained that, you know, we have similar concerns like these residents of Chintal Paradiso residency, because it's visually seen that how plasters have peeled off from their buildings, or maybe some iron reinforcements are completely seen coming out of the concrete, or maybe there are sunken portions of the underground parking which have completely come down and water is pouring all over your cars. So imagine the kind of issues that they are facing on a daily basis, despite paying lakhs and crores of money into so that they can have a comfortable life. But at the end of the day, they are facing such issues. So of course they are scared for their lives. They want compensation, they want answers, they want accountability. But at the end of the day, nothing of that sort is happening, and our story reveals that exact same thing, that, you know, if this is the current condition of all the buildings across Delhi NCR, then definitely, despite the code compliances in place and despite so many actions being taken by the government, someday if if a retrofitting scheme or a retrofitting measure is not being taken ahead, then definitely lots of buildings are coming down and lots of lives are going to be lost.
Well, it seems like, Mr. Chaurasia, this is clear public apathy at display. The bureaucratic chess pieces on the political chess board must move real quickly to solve this out. Would you echo on what Shantasri here is talking about?
I think we should not put every blame or responsible to the government or regulatory authority. The responsibility lies with owner as well. When suppose a owner goes to purchase a flat, he should demand from the builder the structural drawings also, not simply architectural, and he should ensure that the seismic resistant provisions have been incorporated into it and implemented into it. And if he is not competent to ensure all these provisions, he may hire some competent structural engineer who will advise him in regard to the safety from different disasters. If it is done, if such kind of a sensitization is given to the community before at the time of purchase of any flat, I think that will be a great boost to turn the entire thinking process. And for that purpose, if you have further detail, if you want further details, you can refer Bureau of Indian Standard. There is specific guidelines which gives the advisory to the home buyers or flat buyers for checkpoints, what are need to be checked during the purchase of a flat. If individual is responsible, is careful, I think this secondary hassles will be over.
Right, and at the same time, Mr. Chaurasia, in the documentary, I was looking at some international examples as well. Give the viewers here a sense of what is happening elsewhere across the world, what kind of techniques and tips we can actually pick up from what's, let's say, happening in technologically advanced Japan or, like she pointed out, Chile as well. What are some examples at our disposal right now?
First of all, internationally, what people are doing for the ordinary buildings, the buildings which are seismically deficient, they are taking a massive program on retrofitting. Retrofitting, particularly by making the structure seismic resilient, by making use of a locally available construction materials and scale. There are different techniques which are available, like section enlargement, jacketing, steel plates. In advanced countries, they are using base isolator, seismic damper, seismic tube mount damper. So these are the different techniques which are widely adopted in Western countries, Japan and US and other places. And recently it has been introduced in our country as well, but limited to only big projects. So if such techniques are deployed on existing deficient building stocks, and if it is very difficult to address this particular aspect for entire 305 million buildings as per 2011 census, so let us prioritize it. Let us address, first of all the lifeline buildings like school buildings, hospital buildings in seismic zone 5, then 4, and do a model district program. And that will give create awareness among all the stakeholders, whether it is the owner, builders, authority, engineers, professionals, architects, everyone. I think this kind of
any of these programs, any of these guidelines and any of these programs actually in the pipeline, the NDMA, any of their schemes or programs that are already in the pipeline and changes will be seen soon on the ground?
Yeah. Initially, this is first of all a thinking time which is happening, and very soon, within I think 3 to 4 months, NDMA is about to launch a massive program on this, addressing all this issue. Once it is done, so this will be basically focusing on important buildings and states along Indian Himalayan region, seismic zone 4 and 5 places. So very soon you will have a look and practical exposure also on such type of approaches.
Well, absolutely. It seems like the amount of people that live in Delhi and in this particular seismic zone is it is going to be crucial that we actually see, foot on the ground and these programs actually working out for the benefit of the people as well. But the larger question that we're talking about here is if your building is earthquake prone. With the odds that are against us, take a look at what's happening in Turkey, the recent tremors that Delhi faced as well. Is your building actually earthquake prone? Well, we've tried to find that out. What can you look out for when you're buying your next flat or home as well? Check out this documentary. You can download our application News9 Plus. It's on the Google Play Store and the Apple App Store as well. Here's a snippet. We'll continue the discussion on the other side.
It took just 80 seconds. An earthquake demolished buildings, killing 51,000 persons in Turkey and Syria.
Clearly, a lot of these buildings were not up to standard.
More than 100 arrest warrants have been issued in connection with unsafe buildings.
How well buildings protected residents played a significant role in lives saved and lost.
Earthquakes do not kill the people, buildings do.
Developing story coming out of Afghanistan now. Magnitude 6.5 earthquake has hit the nation. Strong tremors were felt as far away as Pakistan and parts of India, including the capital, New Delhi.
Shoddily constructed buildings are endangering lives of thousands of people across Delhi-NCR. In the last 3 years, the national capital region felt tremors 26 times. Is your home really safe from a quake?
झटके आए थे अभी पंखे हिले थे बहुत तेज
हम अपनी गाड़ी चला रहे थे तो गाड़ी थोड़ी सी कांप गई थी
तो काफी देर तक मतलब झटके फील हुए रुक के.
There are two plates, that is, one is Indian plates and another is a Eurasian plate. Indian plate is subducting into the Eurasian plate at a constant rate, and as a result there is a constant rise in Himalayas at a rate of around 47 mm per year. As a result, there is a huge accumulation of energy in the and which is coming out in the form of an earthquake. Entire Indian Himalayan ridge is in seismic zone 4 and 5, including Delhi.
Most of the buildings in Turkey were non-engineered. Seismic code compliances were not followed. Earthquake resistant features which are mandatory were clearly missing. Hence, more than the quake, it is shadowy constructed buildings which claimed so many lives. Turkey is in seismic zone 4. And looking at the deadly outcome of such a high magnitude, we really need to implement our seismic codes.
So can buildings across Delhi-NCR endure earthquakes?
This is Chintal Paradise Residency in Gurugram. In 2022, part of the building collapsed from the 6th floor to the ground floor, killing 2 residents. An IIT Delhi team conducted structural audits in Tower D, E and F of the society. The team found high amounts of chloride used in the concrete during the construction. This led to corrosion of steel and weakening of the structure.
Everybody is scared. Everybody is scared. When, some department is declaring the building it's not safe to live, so it is obvious. Around 150 families vacated from here, and we are just waiting for the solution.
Fearing for their lives, more than 8,000 families across 70 apartment complexes raised an alarm. The district commissioner ordered a structural audit of 16 societies in the first phase. News9 Plus has accessed the structural audit reports, and the results are alarming.
Well, so it has been a riveting conversation. The journalist behind the story, Shanta Sri, with us in the studio. Shanta Sri, just to wrap up this conversation, and I'm going to implore everybody watching this show to please go on and watch this documentary. It's going to reap you a lot of benefits about how you should, put in perspective buying your next prospective home, house, flat, especially if it's in a residential complex. But just to wrap up this conversation, Shanta, there are a lot of court interventions as well. So, the judicial cogwheel is also at play here. Help the viewers understand what kind of court interventions are at play and what can be India's hopes for a seismic resilient country that India wants to achieve and aims to be.
See, all this while, as our expert also said, because he has been working very closely with the PMO to bring about policy change. But we do have all the seismic codes in place. We do have all the policies that are required in order to make us a seismic resilient nation in place. But the main issue is the enforcement and the implementation. So as he said that, when you are going to buy a house or when you're building your own house, then you need to sit with a structural engineer and make sure that it is according to the earthquake resistant codes that are in place. But many a times that doesn't happen, and 85% of India's buildings are actually either soft story building or a masonry building, and they are more prone to completely collapsing because of a earthquake tremor. So that is an issue, and which can be solved through widespread retrofitting measures. Now, what is retrofitting? Retrofitting is basically certain structural things which you can put in place in order to make that already constructed building seismic resilient or earthquake resilient, and that for that to be carried out, there has to be a policy in place. It requires a massive amount of money. So from where that money will be sourced, like partially it will be from the owners or from the builders, or it will be from the government. So those things needs to be sorted out. And as you said, that whether it is court backed or not, definitely our Indian judiciary system is involved in this process. Delhi High Court had asked for a status report regarding the Delhi's buildings. What is the status from the from the Delhi government? They haven't yet filed the report yet, but definitely they are concerned, because at the end of the day, they also know that how the tremors had been increasing over the last so many years. Recently, we have felt one, and it's not being long enough for us to realize that it's very much required for us to, make our buildings earthquake resilient, and definitely for a safe place for us to live and survive.
Well, absolutely. Seems like it's high time. So next time you go out there, try to look for a house, a flat. Don't be so worried about Vastu, or if your lobby is going to be sun-filled, or if your balcony is pool-facing or not. Ask for seismic compliance certificates as well. Let's not forget the responsibility, partly, non-partly, where does it lie on the Libra scale? We don't know yet, but the responsibility also lies on the owners as well. Needless to say, catch that documentary to really understand what's really happening and put into perspective your next home buying as well. Well, that's all the time we have for you in this edition. We're going to slip into a quick commercial. News content continues on the other side. Keep watching News9 Live.